Welcome back, everyone. So, before we jump into the audiobook reading for the rest of Act 2, I just wanted to kind of take a minute to review some of the key points at the end where we last left off, just so that we can kind of review what happened um, and get everybody caught up and on the same page. So, when we left off, Juror 8 was trying to convince not convinced. He was trying to really tell the story of the old man's testimony and the woman across the way's testimony, and try to make sense of it all and see if it was really possible. You remember him always saying, "I don't know. It's possible. It's possible." Right. Um, so there's a couple things that I just want to point out. Right. Um, so here on page 31. Juror 4, he's the one who's the sharp dressed guy who's all about the facts. He says the woman saw the killing through the windows of a moving elevated train. So when they say the L train, they're talking about an elevated train. Like think about like Sunrise Highway, how there's like an elevated train, or in New York City, some of the subways are elevated off the ground, right? And some of those trains pass by people's windows, right? Because people live up in an apartment building off the ground, right? Three, four, five stories. And so the woman saw the killing through the windows of a moving elevated train. The train had five cars, right? So you get on the train, you're in that one car, and then you can walk through those doors and you have to walk outside of the car to get into the next car if you're moving on the train. Well, there's five cars on the train that the woman saw. And she saw it, meaning the murder, through the windows of the last two cars. So there's five cars. The first three go by. She sees the murder in the last two cars, right? She remembers the most insignificant details. Four says that, but is it insignificant? No, it's pretty significant, right? Eight says, I don't know. It just doesn't sound right to me. Um, and he's right. There isn't something. There's just not something right. Let's skip ahead here. So 8 asks, how long does it take an elevated train going at top speed to pass or go by a given point? Right? Nobody can really understand where he's going with this, right? And then 5 says about 10 or 12 seconds, maybe. And 8 agrees, that's a fair guess. 11 then says, I would think 10 seconds. And 2 agrees, 10 seconds. Great. So, all right, we're agreed. 10 seconds to 8. What are you getting at? So, again, 4, he's the fact guy. He wants to know what eight's getting at. So, they kind of agree that it takes 10 seconds for that elevated train to pass a given point. So, 8 says, this is what he's getting at. An L train, an elevated train, passes a given point in 10 seconds, right? So, it passes that a woman's apartment or the old man's apartment in 10 seconds. The full five cars. That given point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. So he's now saying that how long does it take to pass any given point? 10 seconds, they agree. That the whole train to go past that point is 10 seconds. Now, he says the point that they're talking about is the window of the room in which the killing took place. So, how long for the train to pass that room where the killing took place? 10 seconds. You can almost reach out of the window of that room and touch the L, right? That's right. I tried it. So that's how close the train is to the room where it happened. So, all right. Now let me ask you this. Did anyone here ever live right next to the L tracks? 5. He's the one who grew up in the slums. I've lived close to them. They make a lot of noise, don't they? 5 nods. I've lived right by the L tracks. When your window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can't hear yourself think. So, what is he getting at? He's getting at the fact that in those 10 seconds for the train of 5 cars, that elevated train that has 5 cars to pass by, the window of where the murder happens, it's extremely noisy. You've all been near a train station before, or on a train, or seen the Long Island Railroad. It's so loud, right? Or a subway in New York City. It's very loud. So you have 10 seconds, elevated train, really close to the window where the murder happens, passing that point. It's really loud. Okay, so 10, he's one of the ones who's against it. He says, get to the point. 8, the old man who lived downstairs heard the boy say, he didn't say it, he screamed it. 3 again. 3 is against this whole idea. He really wants to make a point. So he screams it. The old man heard the boy scream, so 8 repeats himself. Heard the boy scream, I'm going to kill you. And 1 second later, he heard a body fall. 1 second. That's the testimony, right? Right. So that's what they said. That 1 second later, after the body fell, the women across the street looked through the windows of the last 2 cars on the L train and saw the body fall, right? Right. So he's piecing it together, right? The old man says he heard a scream, I'm going to kill you. A second later, the body falls. And so the body falls. The last two cars. What are you giving us here? He's trying to get him to spit it out. 8. An L train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point, right? We said that's the window of where the murder happens. That's the point it's passing in 10 seconds. Or 2 seconds per car, right? There's 5 cars times 2 seconds for each car. That's 10 seconds. That L had been going by the old man's window for at least 6 seconds and maybe more before the body fell, according to the woman. Because remember, she says she saw it in the last 2 cars of the train. So that means the first 3 cars had already gone by. That's the 6 seconds. The old man would have had to hear the boy say, I'm going to kill you, while the front of the L was roaring past his nose. It's not possible that he could have heard it. What do you mean? Sure, he could have heard it. With an L train going by? So, the L train makes a lot of noise, right? The woman says that she saw the murder take place in the last 2 cars, which is only a 4-second window, right? 10 seconds to go past the given point. Last 2 cars, each takes 2 seconds. That's only 4 seconds. That means that the train had already been going by for 6 seconds, which means that leading up to when the woman saw it, it was really, really noisy. And so there's no way that the old man heard the boy scream, I'm going to kill you, and 1 second later the body fell. Because when the body fell, the woman saw. And that means there's no way the old man heard it because the train was already ripping by for 6 seconds. It's too loud. So I know that was a little, maybe a little confusing. And if it is, let me know. Send me a message on the chat and I'll be happy to try to explain it a little bit better. But if nothing else, just keep in mind that the facts of the case, the testimony of the old man and the woman, are being used by 8. He's trying to use those to make sense of it and prove why he said it just doesn't, where is it? What did he say? Just doesn't feel right. I don't know. It just doesn't sound right to me, right? And this whole incident with the train going by at the same time as the old man saying he heard the boy say, I'm going to kill you, just doesn't add up. And it doesn't when you think about that whole testimony. All right. So we're going to continue Act 2 from page 35. We left off with um, 3 and 8 having a little bit of an argument. You know, if based on 9 talking about, remember 9 talked about why the old man might have bent the truth. right? He's speaking from experience because the old man's at the end of his life and he's trying to, stand up for something, right? But perhaps he'd make himself believe that he heard those words and recognize the boy's face. He made himself believe he told the truth, right? And he's speaking from experience because he is an older man and he knows what it's like to be in the last part of your life and try to, with that last part of your life, make some sort of impact, right? People when they're older, they just can't help but, reflect on their life and want to do good and want to make something meaningful happen. And sometimes that can end, what Nine is saying, that can result in him bending, what he really saw, what he really heard. So 3 flips out, right? 8 says, please, he was explaining the circumstances so that we could understand why the old man might have lied. There's a difference. A liar is a liar. That's all there is to it. So 8 is understanding of and listening to Nine's whole reasoning. If you need to go back and reread that, I encourage you to do so, right? Where he talks about Nine talks about, you know, um, again, why the old man might have um, bent the truth and lied about what he heard and what he saw. Ultimately, 8 understands it and is open. He's compassionate, right? We learned about that from the very beginning when we learned about the characters, right? Even here, he says, please have some compassion, right? Because he's the compassionate one. He has that. And he's saying to 3, you need to have some compassion too, instead of just calling the guy a liar, meaning number 9. Okay, so we have that conflict between 3 and 8. And we'll pick up from right here with the foreman trying to regain control. That's juror number 1. Gentlemen, please, we have our job and our duty here. I think they've covered it. I hope we have. To 8. All right. Is there anything else? So he's asking 8, is there anything else that you need to talk about? 2 holds up a box of cough drops and speaks to foreman. Cough drop? Waving it aside. No, thank you. Hesitantly. Anybody want a cough drop? Offers the box around. Sharply. Come on, let's get on with it. I'll take one. 2 hands ate the box. Thank you. He takes one and returns the box. Now, there's something else I'd like to point out here. I think we proved that the old man couldn't have heard the boy say, I'm going to kill you. Well, I disagree. To 3. Let's hear him through anyway. So even though 3 agrees, 4 wants to hear 8's next point. But supposing the old man really did hear the boy say, I'm going to kill you. This phrase, how many times has each of you used it? Probably hundreds. If you do that once more, Junior, I'm going to murder you. Come on, Rocky, kill him. We say it every day. This doesn't mean that we're really going to kill someone. Don't the circumstances alter that somewhat? The old man was murdered. One thing more, the phrase, I'm going to kill you, and the kid screamed it out at the top of his lungs. That's the way I understand it. Now, don't try and tell me he didn't mean it. Anybody says a thing like that, the way he said it, they mean it. And how they mean it. So again, 3 and 8, 3 and 10, still very convinced that when he says, I'm going to kill you, he meant it. 8. Well, let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy would shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood would hear it? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that. 36. Exploding. Bright? He's a common ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English. Slowly. He doesn't even speak good English. So right there, 11 corrects 10, who doesn't, about speaking good English. And remember, 11's the one who has the accent. He's not even a native English speaker, and he's correcting 10, who's got a problem with people who don't speak English well. Ha, ha, ha. 4, the boy is clever enough. Four's line is spoken as 10 rises and glowers at 11. There is a momentary pause. 10 sits again as 5 gets up and looks around. He is nervous. 5. I'd like to change my vote to not guilty. 3 slams his fist into his hand, then walks to window and does it again. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. The vote is 9-3 in favor of guilty. To 5. I'd like to know why you've changed your vote. I think there's a doubt. Turning abruptly from the window, snarling. Where? What is the doubt? There's the knife, slamming his hand down on the table. Oh, fine. Now he's pointing at 8, he's motioning over to 8. He talked you into believing a fairy tale. To 5. Go on, give us the reasons. 5. The old man, too. Maybe he didn't lie, but then just maybe he did. Maybe the old man doesn't like the kid. Well, if that isn't the end, I believe that there is reasonable doubt. There's that key word, right? 5 now has reasonable doubt as to the boy committing the murder. He sits again. What are you basing it on? Stories that this guy, meaning 8, made up? He ought to write for Amazing Detective Monthly. He'd make a fortune. Listen, the kid had a lawyer, didn't he? Why didn't his lawyer bring up all these points? Lawyers can't think of everything. Oh, brother. To 8. You sit in here and pull stories out of thin air. Now we're supposed to believe that the old man didn't get out of bed, run to the door, and see the kid beat it downstairs 15 seconds after the killing? That's the testimony, I believe. And the old man swore to this. Yes, he swore to this only so he could be important. He looks over at 9. Did the old man say he ran to the door? Ran? Walked? What's the difference? He got there. I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could run. He said he went. I remember it now. He went from his bedroom to the front door. That's enough, isn't it? Where was his bedroom again? This is 8 talk. Disinterested. 10. Disinterested. Down the hall somewhere? Mad. Down the hall? Are we to send a man off to die because it's down the hall somewhere? I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that? No, I don't. I don't remember either. Mr. Foreman, I'd like to take a look at the diagram of the apartment. So he's looking for another piece of evidence. Why don't we have them run the trial over just so you can get everything straight? The bedroom is down the hall somewhere. Do you know exactly where it is? Please, a man's life is at stake. Do you know? Well, Mr. Foreman? Foreman, Juror 1, rising. I heard you. He goes to the door left and knocks on the door. During the ensuing dialogue, the guard opens the door left. The foreman whispers to him. The guard nods and then closes the door. So they're getting the evidence, the diagram of the the hallway, right? Yep, the diagram of the apartment. 3, stepping away from the window, moving a few steps toward 8. Now he's moving toward 8. All right, what's this one for? How come you're the only one in the room who wants to see exhibits all the time? I want to see this one too. 38. So do I. And I want to stop wasting time. Are we going to start wading through all that nonsense about where the body was found? We're not. We're going to find out how a man who's had 2 strokes in the past 3 years and who walks with a pair of canes, take that into consideration there. A man who walks with a pair of canes could get to his front door in 15 seconds. 3, he said 20 seconds. He said 15. How does he know how long 15 seconds is? You can't judge that kind of thing. He said 15. He was very positive about it. Angrily. He's an old man. You saw that. Half the time he was confused. How could he be positive about anything? Looks around sheepishly, unable to cover his blunder. So he just said that 3, now it just said that the old man who's giving the testimony of hearing, the boy say that he was going to kill him, and then he saw 15 seconds later. Now 3 is saying, how could he be positive about anything? Which is a major blunder or mistake. Well, he tries to cover it up. No, I don't know. Maybe you know. The door left opens, and the guard walks in carrying a large pen and ink diagram of the apartment, done on heavy drawing board stock. So imagine like a big piece of, poster paper or, one of those tri-board construction papers. It's a big diagram of the apartment where the old man lives. A bedroom faces the L tracks. Behind it is a series of rooms off a long hallway. In the front bedroom, there's a mark where the body was found. At the back of the apartment, we see the entrance into the apartment hall from the building hall. We see a flight of stairs in the building hall. The diagram is clearly labeled, and included in the information on it are the various dimensions of the various rooms. The guard gives the diagram to the foreman, who has remained by the door left. Is this what you wanted? That's right. Thank you. Sure, that's my job. Nods and goes out left, closing and locking the door as he goes. 8 rises and starts toward the foreman. You want this? Yes, please. Foreman nods. 8 takes the diagram and crosses upstage right. He takes chair from upstage right corner and brings it to the right center, half facing the table. He sets the diagram of the apartment up on the chair so that all can see it. 8 looks it over. Several jurors get up to see it better. Foreman comes over to look. 3, 10, and 7, however, barely bother to look at it. So those are the 3 that are still holding on to he's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty. 3, 10, and 7. They're not even looking at the diagram. 3 sits abruptly again at the table. 7 to 10. Do me a favor, slumps in his chair. Wake me up when this is over. So again, he's very disinterested. 10. I looked at the diagram for 2 hours. Enough is enough. Some of us are interested. Go ahead. All right. So now 8's going to break down the whole idea. Let's get ready. Here we go. This is important. Listen up. All right. This is the apartment in which the killing took place. The old man's apartment is directly beneath it and exactly the same. He's pointing now at the diagram. Here are the L tracks. The bedroom, another bedroom, living room, bathroom, kitchen, and this is the hall. Here's the front door to the apartment, and here are the steps. Points to the front bedroom and then to the front door. Now, the old man was in bed in this room. He says he got up, went out into the hall, down the hall to the front door, and opened it and looked out just in time to see the boy racing down the stairs. Am I right? That's the story. That's what happened. 15 seconds after he heard the body fall. Keep that in mind. So 15 seconds after the old man hears the body fall. Correct. Foreman and other jurors who have come over to look at the diagram now drift back to the table and sit again. 8. Still by the diagram at right center. His bed was at the window, looking closer. It's 12 feet from his bed to the bedroom door. The length of the hall is 43 feet 6 inches. He had to get up out of bed, get his canes, walk 12 feet, open the bedroom door, walk 43 feet, and open the front door, all in 15 seconds. Do you think this is possible? You know it's possible. I don't see why not. He would have been in a hurry. He did hear the scream. He can only walk very slowly. They had to help him into the witness chair. Ah, so think about that. The old man needs to be helped into the witness chair so he doesn't move very quickly. 3. You make it sound like a long walk. It's not. 8 goes downstage left and takes 2 chairs. He crosses downstage right near water cooler and puts them together to indicate a bed. So he's drawing the scene. He's drawing rather on stage as best he can the setup of the apartment. He's going to set up the little experiment to see if the old man could really walk as far as he says he did in that 15 seconds. For an old man who uses canes, it's a long walk. To 8. What are you doing? I want to try this thing. Let's see how long it took him. I'm going to pace off 12 feet, the length of the bedroom. He begins to do so, pacing from down right, cross stage to toward down center. You're crazy. You can't recreate a thing like that. He's trying to recreate the old man getting up from his apartment and walking all the distance that he said he did when he saw the boy come down the stairs, right? So over 60 feet in 15 seconds. And like he said before, he doesn't really walk so well, right? He can only walk very slowly. Perhaps if we could see it, this is an important point. Angrily, it's a ridiculous waste of time. Let him do it. I can't see any harm in it. Foolish, but go ahead. Hand me a chair, please. 9 pushes a chair from right end of table to 8, and then sits again. All right. He places chair at the point he has paced off. This is the bedroom door. How far would you say it is from here to the door of this room? As everyone's looking, I'd say it was 20 feet. Several jurors excluding 3, 7, and 10. Again, they're not interested. Rise and stand near their places watching. Just about. Okay. 8. 20 feet is close enough. All right. From here to the door and back is about 40 feet. It's shorter than the length of the hallway the old man had to move through. Wouldn't you say that? A few feet, maybe. Look, this is absolutely insane. What makes you think you can do this? We can't stop him. Do you mind if I try it? According to you, it'll only take 15 seconds. We can spare that. 8 walks over to 2 chairs and lies down on them. So he's pretending to be lying on the bed like the old man in his testimony. Who's got a watch with a second hand? Basically, he's asking, who's going to time me? I have, indicates his wristwatch. When you want me to start, stamp your foot. That'll be the body falling. We'll time you from there. So now 8 is lying down on 2 chairs, pretending to be the old man in bed. 2 is going to stamp his foot on the ground, and then that's going to trigger 8 to say, okay, I'm going to start doing what the old man did after the body fell, right? Let's say he keeps his canes right at his bedside, right? Right. Okay, I'm ready. Explaining. I'm waiting for the hand to get to 60. They all watch carefully. Then 2 stamps his foot loudly. 8 begins to get up slowly. He swings his legs over the edges of the chairs, reaches for imaginary canes, and struggles to get to his feet. 2 stares at his watch. 8 walks as a crippled old man would walk now. He goes toward the chair, which is serving as the bedroom door. So he's pretending to be the old man, getting out of bed, getting the canes, walking from the bed to the bedroom door. He gets to it and pretends to open it. 10 now shouting, "Speed it up! He walked twice as fast as that." 8, not having stopped for this outburst, begins to walk simulated 40-foot hallway to door left and back to the chair. This is, I think, even more quickly than the old man walked in the courtroom. That's important. So 8 is even walking probably quicker than the old man could. No, it isn't. If you think I should go faster, I will. Speed it up a little. 8 speeds up his pace slightly. He reaches the door left and turns now, heading back, hobbling as an old man would hobble, bent over his imaginary canes. All watch him tensely. He hobbles back to the chair, which also serves as a front door. He stops there and pretends to unlock the door. Then he pretends to push it open. 8 loudly. Stop! So he wants 2 to stop the watch. His eyes are glued to the watch. Right. What's the time? 15, 20, 30, 45, 39. 39 seconds. 39 seconds exactly. Moves towards 8. Other jurors now move in toward 8 also. That can't be. 39 seconds. Now that's interesting. Looking at the jurors. Hey, now, what do you think of that? 11 nodding. 39 seconds. 39. And the old cripple swore on his oath that it was 15 seconds. So all the things that the old man swore he had to do in order to see the boy after he supposedly committed the murder, he saw the boy in the hallway after he ran down the stairs 15 seconds after the body hit the floor. But 8 just proved that it took 39 seconds to walk the distance from the old man's bed for him to get up, walk to his door 20 feet, then walk a 40-foot hallway to the door where he saw the boy coming down the stairs. It took him 39 seconds as 8 simulated. So it wasn't possible. Let's see what happens. 11, pointing to 8. He may have been a little bit off on the speed that the old cripple moved at, but 24 seconds off? Well, now you know. Far be it from me to call anyone a liar, and even allowing for quite a difference in speed between the old man and you. Motion's at 8. Why, still, there's quite a discrepancy, meaning there's quite a gap. There's quite a disagreement in the amount of time it took for 8 to simulate the old man walking and the 15 seconds that the old man was adamant that it took him to walk all that distance. It's my guess that the old man was trying to get to the door, heard someone racing down the stairs, and assumed, meaning he figured, oh, okay, I think I know who that is, that it was the boy. I think that's possible. Infuriated. 3's infuriated. Assumed? Now, listen to me. You people. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display takes the cake, meaning it's the worst. What dishonesty? To 4. Tell him. 4 turns away downright and sits silently in one of the 2 chairs there. 3 looks at him and then he strides to 8. You come in here with your heart bleeding all over the floor about slum kids and injustice, and you make up these wild stories, and you've got some soft-hearted old ladies listening to you. Well, I'm not. I'm getting real sick of you. To everyone. What's the matter with you people? This kid is guilty. He's got to burn. We're letting him slip through our fingers. 8 calmly. Our fingers. Are you his executioner? Raging. I'm one of them. Perhaps you'd like to pull the switch. For this kid? You bet I'd like to pull the switch. Shaking his head sadly. I'm sorry for you. Shouting. Don't start with me. What it must feel like to want to pull the switch. Shut up! You're a sadist. Shut up! In his voice strong. You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts. Spits out those words. You are a beast. You disgust me. Shut up! He lunges at 8, but is caught by 2 of the jurors and is held. He struggles as 8 watches calmly. Then he screams, Let me go! I'll kill him! I'll kill him! Softly. You don't really mean you'll kill me. Do you? 3 stops struggling now, stares at 8, and all the jurors watch in silence as the curtain closes. So, a lot of stuff there. I hope you all stuck with me. I hope you all listened to this. I hope you're enjoying it. It's starting to really heat up, starting to really see that reasonable doubt get into the heads of those jurors who once voted guilty. All right. If you have any questions, ask me on the chat. And again, hope you enjoyed.